Imagine someone who never raises their voice, never forces themselves into the spotlight, never performs or postures for attention. Yet somehow, the moment they enter a room, the entire environment shifts. Not because they are loud, but because they exude a quiet, unwavering certainty that most people will never understand, and many instinctively fear. This isn't the person trying to prove something. This is the person who knows they don't need to. Their presence alone disrupts the social temperature. They don't ask for respect. They don't demand validation. And still, without a single word, everything around them rearranges itself in response. People like this don't push for space. Space moves for them. Eyes drift toward them without being told to. Conversations soften. Competitors hesitate. The atmosphere thickens with an almost invisible tension. What exactly is happening here? The explanation is far deeper than the shallow cliches of self-esteem, and far more profound than the hollow self-love pep talks sold on social media. Psychology has a precise name for this phenomenon: self-efficacy. A term introduced by the legendary psychologist Albert Bandura, one of the towering figures of the 20th century, whose research shattered simplistic ideas about confidence and human behavior. His message is as simple as it is uncomfortable. Real confidence is not about liking yourself. It's not a warm feeling of positivity. It is a core belief, a deep, almost immovable conviction that you can handle whatever must be handled, that you can do what needs to be done, that you are capable, competent, and ready. And when a person carries this belief, the world responds, not metaphorically, not spiritually, mechanically. Bandura demonstrated that confidence is not an emotional accessory. It is a mechanism of power, one that shapes opportunities, alters outcomes, and silently rewires how others perceive you. Individuals with high self-efficacy are unconsciously seen as leaders, authorities, or figures of stability. They do not intimidate by threat. They influence by presence. Their certainty radiates, and people notice, often without understanding why. This is why everything changes around them. In social situations, they don't shrink or soften themselves. They stand naturally, as if they belong, because internally they believe they do. In negotiations, they don't project hunger or desperation. Their calm detachment makes others value their position more. In relationships, they don't tolerate disrespect, and because they carry silent standards, they attract people who meet them. In the workplace, they move as if they're already operating at the next level, and strangely, they often get promoted simply because others see them as the obvious choice. This level of confidence creates its own gravitational field. Dense, invisible, inescapable. It draws some people in with magnetism, pushes others away with discomfort, and leaves many silently intimidated, often without knowing why. In this video, we're going to break down this psychological force with precision. We'll uncover what Bandura actually meant by self-efficacy, why this invisible conviction triggers such powerful reactions in others, how it forms inside the brain, and why people who possess it seem to have doors open for them, while equally talented individuals remain stuck in loops of frustration and failure. And most importantly, you're going to learn how to build this type of confidence for yourself. The kind that doesn't require shouting, boasting, or pretending. The kind that speaks before you speak. The kind that reshapes the world around you without effort. This isn't fake it till you make it. This is a deep dive into presence, certainty, and the silent, unmistakable power that emerges when you finally stop doubting who you are and start acting from the potential you've always had. Are you ready? Because after this, you won't think about confidence the same way ever again. Albert Bandura didn't just redefine how psychology views confidence. He dismantled one of the most seductive and dangerous illusions society loves to protect. The comforting lie that success is merely a product of talent, luck, or charisma. Bandura stepped into that discussion and revealed something far more unsettling and infinitely more powerful: success, influence, leadership, respect. Everything we associate with personal power centers around one invisible yet profoundly real force: the belief that you can act effectively in the face of life's challenges. This belief has a name: self-efficacy. And unlike the soft, vague notion of self-esteem, which is mostly about feeling good about yourself, self-efficacy is about doing. It is the unwavering conviction that you possess the capability to meet whatever stands before you. It is the belief that you can handle not just the moment, but the pressure inside the moment. And this belief doesn't simply color your emotions, it shapes your actions, your outcomes, and the very way the world reacts to you. Bandura demonstrated with brutal clarity that self-efficacy is the psychological factor that separates the people who rise from the ones who remain stuck. And the difference begins at the deepest level. Your perception of your own ability determines your behavior. Those who truly believe they can succeed act more decisively, take more risks, persist longer when obstacles appear, and as a result, they achieve more. Their results then reinforce their belief. And this is where the self-confidence engine activates. Bandura called it the self-efficacy reinforcement cycle. Belief, action, result, strengthen belief, bolder action, larger results. This cycle becomes a psychological form of compound interest. The more you believe, the more you achieve. The more you achieve, the more you believe. And the loop accelerates. But people forget there is a darker mirror to this process: the failure cycle. Those with low self-efficacy hesitate, try less, quit sooner, fail more, and interpret each failure as proof that they were never capable in the first place. Their belief weakens, their actions shrink, and they become trapped inside a self-fulfilling prophecy. Here's the brutal truth: the difference between these two destinies is not talent, it is not intelligence, it is not luck, it is belief. Bandura showed that self-efficacy is not some rare gift reserved for the chosen few. It is a skill, a construct, a psychological architecture that can be built brick by brick. And when it reaches a critical point, something profound shifts inside you. You stop doubting. You stop seeking permission. You stop needing validation. Your posture changes. Your walk changes. Your breathing changes. Your nervous system recalibrates. And people around you feel it, even if they cannot articulate why. This is the moment where discomfort enters the equation. Because most people live in a fog of insecurity and comparison. When someone appears who has shattered that fog, someone who embodies certainty with a quiet, unshakable presence, the impact is visceral. These individuals don't need to raise their voices, flex their status, or demand attention. They simply are. And that is enough to destabilize the room, not because they radiate arrogance, but because their level of self-belief exposes the lack in everyone else. This is the root of intimidating confidence. Not showmanship, not theatrics, not performance. It is the silent energy of a person whose certainty is built on internal evidence, not external applause. Now that you understand the engine behind genuine confidence, one question becomes inevitable. How do you build it? In the next part, we will go deeper into how self-efficacy manifests as presence, power, and influence, and why this presence almost magically alters how people see you, treat you, and behave around you. If this content resonates, hit the subscribe button and join the journey. Your support matters. Have you ever noticed how certain individuals walk into a room and instantly shift the atmosphere? They don't need flamboyant clothing, dramatic entrances, or loud voices. Their presence alone carries a density, a gravity, that forces the environment to recalibrate around them. This magnetic presence is not luck. It is not charm. It is the outward expression of deeply internalized self-efficacy. This is the confidence Bandura described, the confidence born from evidence, not dreams, and it manifests physiologically and behaviorally. When someone possesses genuine conviction in their abilities, it reveals itself effortlessly, a naturally upright posture, calm, deliberate gestures, a steady, unflinching gaze, breathing that remains slow under pressure, the complete absence of nervous compensations, no fidgeting, no forced smiles, no restless energy. Their voice becomes firmer, their silences become deliberate. They never rush to fill gaps in conversation because they are not chasing approval, and people feel this, viscerally, whether they understand it or not. The human brain, with its social reading machinery, amygdala, prefrontal cortex, mirror neuron system, detects dominance and submission signals in milliseconds. The same mechanisms governing social hierarchies in animals operate within us. And across every context, business meetings, romantic encounters, negotiations, interviews, those who embody inner conviction command respect without effort. Bandura's research revealed something counterintuitive yet liberating. People don't treat you with respect so that you become confident. You become confident, and the world adjusts. Confidence does not follow validation. Validation follows confidence. Those with self-efficacy don't beg for space, chase approval, or scramble for tiny scraps of attention. They move through the world with the quiet certainty of someone who already belongs to the next level. And the irony is profound. Because they act as if they belong, the world eventually agrees. In negotiations, this posture disarms the other party. In social interactions, it sets boundaries without a single confrontation. In relationships, it repels toxic or abusive behavior. Because the underlying message is crystal clear, I do not tolerate this. In professional environments, this silent, self-assured posture is interpreted as natural leadership. It's as if such individuals emit a steady, invisible broadcast. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I don't need your permission to do it. But this kind of presence, calm, controlled, unshakable, also disturbs people, especially insecure ones. Those who live in a defensive psychological state often feel threatened, not because you attack them, but because you exist with a strength they have not cultivated. You become a mirror reflecting everything they have neglected within themselves. And the ego struggles to face that reflection. This is why genuinely confident people provoke extreme reactions. They inspire deep admiration in some and quiet discomfort in others. And it's vital to understand, we are not talking about arrogance, dominance games, or shallow bravado. This isn't loud, this isn't theatrical, this isn't performative. It is something far deeper, an internal equilibrium where you know you are capable, and that knowing becomes visible in every part of your expression. This certainty is what creates what psychologists call a high psychological frequency. And when you operate from that level, others sense it instinctively. The world doesn't bow to you. It reorganizes itself around the competence you emanate. But this leads us to the most important question of all. If this presence is built and not innate, how is it built? How does one develop this silent, destabilizing, gravitational confidence? How does one cultivate an internal authority that changes the room without saying a word? The answer lies in Albert Bandura's framework, the 4 neurological pillars of self-efficacy that can rewire how your brain interprets your ability. And everything begins with one foundational concept: mastery experiences. Bandura didn't just describe self-efficacy. He exposed a brutal truth that most people prefer to avoid. Confidence is not a luxury. Confidence is a survival mechanism, and it functions like a hidden psychological engine, a feedback loop that quietly divides those who rise in life from those who drown in stagnation. Understanding this loop is essential because it doesn't just determine your outcomes, it shapes your identity. And whether you know it or not, you are already stuck in one of these loops. The mechanism works like this: the more you believe you are capable, The more you attempt, the more experiences you accumulate, the more experience you gain, the higher your chances of success. When success happens, it becomes proof that your belief was justified. This proof strengthens your confidence, leading to bolder decisions, bigger risks, and more ambitious actions. The cycle accelerates, momentum builds, and with time, this person becomes a force that seems unstoppable, not because of extraordinary talent, but because they learned to believe in themselves before the world did. This is why confident people often appear lucky. They ask more. They speak up more. They negotiate better. They take risks others avoid. And because they show up more frequently, they naturally stumble into more opportunities. Luck, in this sense, is not random. It is a frequency available only to those whose behavior aligns with the belief that they deserve to be present. But the opposite cycle is equally real and far more common. The insecurity cycle is a disguised prison. People who doubt themselves avoid risks. They fear appearing incompetent, so they don't try. Because they don't try, they don't gain experience. Because they lack experience, they never create evidence of competence. And without evidence, their belief collapses even further. Soon, hesitation becomes a habit, then a pattern, then an identity. I'm not good at this. This isn't for me. I always fail. These statements are not truths. They are symptoms of a brain that learned to fail before it ever acted. This downward spiral is devastating because it strengthens faster than the upward one. A single failure can be misinterpreted as proof of total incompetence, leading to paralysis, self-sabotage, and eventually, a strategic withdrawal from life itself. And here's the most painful part. Talent cannot save anyone from this cycle. Millions of gifted people remain stuck not because they lack ability, but because they lack belief. A defeated mind is more powerful than any natural talent. And this is why Bandura's theory is revolutionary. You can escape the cycle, but not with empty affirmations, not with motivational quotes, not with pretending to be confident. The only real escape is through new evidence, reprogramming your brain to trust itself again. And that happens only when you begin acting strategically to interrupt the downward spiral and ignite the upward one. But how? How do you build an inner foundation so strong that it survives fear, failure, and doubt? Bandura gives the answer. Self-efficacy rests on 4 pillars, 4 mechanisms that directly shape the brain's perception of capability. And the first, arguably the most powerful, is mastery experiences. If intimidating confidence is a fortress, mastery experiences are the first stone. This pillar is the strongest because it is built on the one thing the brain cannot argue with: evidence. While most people chase confidence through positive thinking or bursts of motivation, Bandura cuts through the illusions. What truly convinces your brain that you are capable is not thought, but action. Small victories, real wins, concrete demonstrations of competence. The biggest mistake people make is trying to transform themselves overnight. I'll become a new person starting tomorrow. This almost always leads to failure. The brain, when confronted with challenges far beyond its current adaptation level, panics and enters defensive mode. And when you fail at that unrealistic leap, it confirms your worst fear: I am not good enough. Bandura's approach is the opposite. Progressive, strategic, controlled. A small challenge successfully completed is worth infinitely more than a huge challenge attempted and failed. Here's the method. Choose a specific skill that intimidates you. Not be more confident. That's meaningless. Something concrete. Giving a presentation. Starting a conversation. Setting a boundary. Recording a video. Entering an uncomfortable environment intentionally. Break that skill into small components. Master 1 component per week. After 12 weeks, you'll have 12 real victories. 12 moments recorded by your brain as irrefutable proof of competence. 12 upgrades to your identity. This process rewires your psychology. Even if nobody notices it, your brain does. And that alone is enough to shift your posture, your tone, your energy, and your behavior. Real confidence is silent because it is built on certainty, and certainty is born from experience. But Bandura also understood that some people are so paralyzed by doubt they cannot even begin. For them, he introduced the second pillar of self-efficacy, observational learning. This pillar is the psychological equivalent of borrowing someone else's courage until you develop your own. It means watching people similar to you overcome difficulty and succeed. Not celebrities, not distant icons, but relatable individuals whose journey mirrors yours. This activates the brain's mirror neuron system, which simulates the actions and successes you observe. In other words, when you witness someone similar to you succeed, your brain internally rehearses that success as if it were your own. Imagine this: 3 people, 3 journeys, 3 undeniable victories in the very same arenas where you feel fear, hesitation, or insecurity. What makes their stories powerful is not that they are extraordinary, but that they prove something your mind has quietly stopped believing. When you consume these examples with intention, something remarkable happens. Your brain begins to dismantle the silent belief that whispers, "This isn't for me." Success stops appearing like a distant fantasy reserved for a chosen few, and instead begins to feel like a possibility. Real, concrete, and within reach. This shift breaks the paralysis of resignation and places you back in motion. These 2 pillars, real practice and exposure to real models, form the bedrock of a mind that believes in itself not because of motivation, not because of hope, but because of evidence. But even with these foundations laid, even with progress accumulating, there is still a hidden variable capable of quietly sabotaging everything. That variable is the environment around you, because you may be training, improving, pushing your limits, while being surrounded by people who consciously or unconsciously poison your confidence. In the next section, we will explore the third pillar of self-efficacy, social influence, and why the voices around you may be shaping your self-belief more than your own. If what you're hearing resonates, you'll find real value in my ebooks. Beyond the Shadow breaks down Jung's core ideas, and Dialogues with the Unconscious gives you a 30-day path to apply them in your life. Both are linked in the pinned comment. You may think you are the problem. You may think your doubt comes from within. But Bandura discovered something uncomfortable. Often, the hesitation you feel doesn't originate in your mind. It originates in the world around you. Your social environment has a direct, measurable impact on how you see yourself. And this influence usually works silently, beneath awareness. The third pillar of self-efficacy is what Bandura called social persuasion, the impact of the messages you receive from others about your ability. And this extends far beyond verbal encouragement. It includes looks, subtle judgments, sarcastic remarks, dishonest compliments, constant comparisons, silent exclusions, and every one of these is registered by your brain as data. Data about your worth, data about your ability, data about your potential. With time, these micromessages can build or destroy your sense of who you are. Think about how many opportunities you declined because someone said, "That's not for you." How many ideas you buried because someone mocked your ambition. How many dreams you slowed down just to avoid making others uncomfortable. This isn't weakness. This is social conditioning. Humans are biologically designed to seek belonging, and when belonging requires you to shrink, you learn to sabotage yourself to avoid rejection. Bandura was precise. One voice that truly believes in you can outweigh 50 that merely tolerate you. Confidence can be built internally, yes, but it requires a social environment that does not suffocate it. If you live surrounded by people who doubt you, belittle you, mock your attempts, or protect you from taking risks, your brain will begin to treat their limitations as your own. These messages aren't always hostile. Often the most damaging ones are disguised as care. Don't risk it. Wait a bit longer. You should be grateful for what you already have. That's something only lucky people achieve. The intentions may look kind, but the message is devastating. You are not capable. You are not ready. You must be protected from your own ambitions. But when you surround yourself with people who see your potential, who expect growth from you, who treat your evolution as normal, something shifts inside you. Confidence stops being an internal fight. It becomes a natural consequence of the environment. You begin to behave according to the expectations placed upon you. And if those expectations are high, you rise to meet them. This is why one of the most powerful actions for building self-efficacy is performing a radical audit of your social circle. Ask yourself, who reinforces my strength? Who feeds my doubt? Who challenges me? Who numbs me? And then have the courage to adjust the environment. Bandura emphasized, humans are never isolated entities. They are shaped, reinforced, and molded by their social ecosystems. If you want to change your destiny, you must change the field where your mind grows. But even with the right environment, one final challenge remains, your body. Because even when your mind understands, even when your people support you, even when your strategy is solid, you still face a biological obstacle, the way your nervous system interprets fear. At this stage, doubt is no longer psychological, it becomes physical. In the next section, we explore the fourth and final pillar of self-efficacy, physiological states, and how mastering your body's reaction to pressure becomes the gateway to unshakable confidence. Most people believe confidence is a mindset. But Bandura, backed today by neuroscience, revealed a deeper truth. Real confidence begins in the body. You can have accomplishments, you can have role models, you can have support, and still, at the moment of action, feel your heart pounding, your breath tightening, your palms sweating, your thoughts freezing, and your mind declares, "This means I'm not capable." Wrong. What's failing is not your mind, it is your interpretation of your biological state. The fourth pillar of self-efficacy is mastery of physiological reactions, how you perceive and respond to the natural stress signals your body generates when facing challenges. People with low self-efficacy feel anxiety and say, "I'm scared." People with high self-efficacy feel the exact same sensations and say, "My body is activating for peak performance." The difference is not biology. The difference is meaning. A racing heartbeat can be panic or readiness. Butterflies can be threat or excitement. This is not a trick. It is a switch in the nervous system. When you master this reinterpretation, anxiety turns into fuel. Tension becomes focus. Sensation becomes presence. Bandura also highlighted practical tools that regulate these states. Expansive posture that activates dominance-linked hormonal pathways. Conscious breathing that calms the amygdala and suppresses the panic response. Performance visualization that trains your brain to treat the future as familiar, not threatening. These are not motivational gimmicks. They are evidence-based neurological levers. When practiced consistently, they create a body that treats pressure as a signal to rise, not retreat. Because your mind can whisper, "You can do this," but if your body screams, "We are in danger," you will sabotage everything. The confidence that intimidates, that influences, that reshapes environments, it doesn't come from mantras or aesthetics. It comes from the fusion of four forces, accumulated victories, real models, empowering social influence, a trained nervous system. When these align, something profound happens. You stop wishing to be capable. You begin living as someone who is capable. You stop performing confidence. You start radiating it, in your tone, in your silence, in your decisions. And the most surprising part? People around you will sense this shift before you ever speak. They will react. Some will retreat. Some will be drawn closer. But all of them will recognize a rare presence, someone operating on a different psychological frequency. If this resonated with you, if you feel the need to rebuild your confidence from the ground up, write in the comments, "I choose to build evidence." This will anchor you and remind others that real confidence is not felt. It is constructed, brick by brick, pillar by pillar. And if you want to continue this transformation, watch the next video. It's the continuation of this journey. And if you made it this far, it's because you are ready for far more than you currently imagine.